Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL and LCL in December 2025, watched his team finish 6-11, and then had to sit at home while Kansas City traded away one of its best players. What he said during his recovery about the NFL, about winning, about what's broken in professional football, has set tongues wagging across the internet. So let's start from the moment everything changed. December 14th, 2025, Kansas City, Arrowhead Stadium. The Chiefs are playing the Los Angeles Chargers, and the season is already on life support. After starting the year with a 5-3 record, the Chiefs had dropped 8 of their last 9 games. Patrick Mahomes is doing what Patrick Mahomes does, scrambling, extending plays, trying to will a broken roster into relevance. Then it happens. Mahomes tore the ACL and LCL on December 14th. In the waning minutes of a loss to the Chargers, one that effectively eliminated the Chiefs from playoff contention. The image of him grabbing his left knee and collapsing on the turf would become the defining image of the 2025 season. Not a Super Bowl celebration, not a Lombardi trophy hoist, a man clutching his knee while the stadium fell silent. This was a franchise that had appeared in 4 of the previous 5 Super Bowls. He had earned that privilege after winning 2 NFL MVPs and leading Kansas City to 3 Super Bowl victories. Just last season, the Chiefs were competing for a three-peat, and they now found themselves in danger of falling into the void. The Chiefs finished the 2025 season at 6-11. They missed the playoffs for the first time since 2014. In the hours after the injury, Mahomes went to social media. His message was raw. Don't know why this had to happen, and not going to lie, it hurts. But all we can do now is trust in God and attack every single day over and over again. He added, "I will be back stronger than ever." Those words weren't just about the injury. As the offseason unfolded, it became clear Mahomes was watching everything. Every roster move, every trade, every dollar cut. And he had thoughts. He had a lot of thoughts about how the league works, about how the game treats its best players, about what it means when the business of football collides with the people who play it. Mahomes had surgery in mid-December to repair 2 torn ligaments in his left knee, and he said during a Zoom call that his rehab was hitting all the checkpoints. But the physical recovery was only part of the story. While Mahomes was rehabbing, the world around him was changing at a pace no one in Kansas City expected. The roster was being gutted. The salary cap was a mess. Teammates were leaving, and the man who had carried this franchise for the better part of a decade was forced to sit and watch it happen. What came out of his mouth during those months of recovery, in interviews, in media calls, in social media posts, painted a picture of a man grappling with something far bigger than a knee injury. It painted a picture of a man questioning the very machinery of the NFL. And that's where this story gets interesting. To understand why Mahomes' words carry such weight, you have to understand what happened to the Kansas City Chiefs the moment his knee gave out. This wasn't a simple star player gets hurt, team regroups narrative. This was a full-scale dismantling of a dynasty, happening in real time. While its most important figure could only watch from a rehabilitation table, the Kansas City Chiefs entered the 2026 NFL offseason with one of the worst cap situations in the league, prompting general manager Brett Veach to restructure Patrick Mahomes' contract. The Chiefs converted $54.45 million of Patrick Mahomes' 2026 salary into a signing bonus, creating $43.56 million in cap room. Even after that massive financial maneuver, the Chiefs were still underwater, $11 million over the threshold, the 5th worst situation in the league. The cap gymnastics were just the beginning. Kansas City had a whopping 29 free agents set to test the open market. Players who had been cornerstones of Super Bowl runs were walking out the door. The team had already restructured Mahomes' contract and released Mike Dana and Jawan Taylor over the past week in an effort to get back under the cap. Then came the move that sent shockwaves through Kansas City. The Chiefs traded cornerback Trent McDuffie to the Los Angeles Rams. McDuffie, a 2022 first-round pick, had helped the franchise win 2 Super Bowls while earning 2 All-Pro selections. The Chiefs sent McDuffie to the Rams for pick number 29 in the 2026 NFL Draft, 2026 5th and 6th round picks, and a 2027 3rd-round pick. Mahomes' reaction, one word, posted on X within minutes of the news breaking. Damn, this was a tough loss for the Chiefs roster, and quarterback Patrick Mahomes specifically seemed to not be taking the news very well. He tweeted a simple but devastating one-word response to the trade news. That single word encapsulated everything. The loss was excruciating. Business is business, and the Chiefs could see a McDuffie trade screaming down the tracks. But losing an all-pro locker room leader, their best player at a premium NFL position, was tough to understand in the minutes after news broke. And Mahomes wasn't the only one feeling the pain. Wide receiver Xavier Worthy saluted what McDuffie meant to the Chiefs over the past 4 years. But here's the thing that many people missed about Mahomes' reaction. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes clearly didn't approve of the Chiefs trading cornerback Trent McDuffie to the Los Angeles Rams. It seems by his tweet in the aftermath that he was disappointed to see McDuffie go. And some speculated that Mahomes may not have even had advance notice before the deal was done. This deal was reminiscent of the trade that sent Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins back in 2022, when the Chiefs traded away a player in his prime to rebuild for the future. It worked out quite well that time, as even without Hill, Mahomes went on to make 3 more Super Bowls, winning 2 of them. But this time, the context was different. This time, Mahomes was injured. This time, the roster around him wasn't just losing one piece, it was losing many. For a team accustomed to MVP races, conference title games, and Super Bowl appearances, 2025 felt less like a down year and more like a reckoning. It had been speculated for a while that Mahomes has some pull with the Chiefs brass. He had earned that privilege after winning 2 NFL MVPs and leading Kansas City to 3 Super Bowl victories. It made sense for Veach and Reed to listen to Mahomes when it came to what he liked in offensive skill position players. So the question became, was the front office listening, or was Mahomes watching his team get dismantled without having a say? That tension between the franchise quarterback's desires and the front office's financial reality would define every word Mahomes said in the months that followed. When Patrick Mahomes sat down for his first media availability after the injury, the world was waiting to hear about his knee. What they got instead was a man who had clearly spent weeks thinking about bigger things. What I got from my doctor is obviously I had the ACL and the LCL, but everything else was clean. As bad as it was as clean as it could be. That's the football answer. The clinical expected response. But then Mahomes started talking about the NFL itself, about the system, about what players go through. And his words took a different tone entirely. He addressed the topic of gambling, a subject that had already rocked multiple professional sports leagues. In 2025 alone, major betting scandals had occurred in both the NBA and MLB. When asked about the safeguards in place for NFL players, Mahomes was blunt. They let us know the NFL and NFLPA tell us all the different rules that you can and cannot do. I just stay away from it. I don't want to put myself in that position. But it was his next statement that carried the real weight. Mahomes said there is a dark side to gambling, the intense pressure and often abuse that players suffer from fans who have money tied to their performances. It gets weird sometimes when fans talk about it. Mahomes said, "You're just trying to live your life and play the games." And they get really attached even more than the regular fans because they have money on the line. Think about that for a moment. The highest paid quarterback in the NFL, a man who has won 3 Super Bowls, is telling you that the gambling culture in the NFL has changed the relationship between players and fans, that something fundamental has shifted, that people don't just watch for entertainment anymore. They watch because they have money riding on every throw, every incompletion, every interception. And when things go wrong, players feel that heat. Then there was the officiating conversation. No NFL playoff matchup in 2025 sparked more outrage than the Kansas City Chiefs' divisional round victory against the Houston Texans when Patrick Mahomes received 2 controversial calls that went his way during the game. The first was a soft roughing the passer penalty on Texans Will Anderson Jr. in the first quarter, and the second was an unnecessary roughness penalty on 2 Texans defenders, who the refs thought hit Mahomes as he was giving himself up. The narrative had been building for years. The NFL protected Mahomes. The referees favored Kansas City. Mahomes and Josh Allen had been the beneficiaries of a combined 172 unnecessary roughness or roughing the passer penalties since 2018, according to NFL ref stats. Rather than deflect, Mahomes addressed it head on. "I've kind of learned that no matter what happens during the game, something is going to come out about the refs if you win, if you continue to win. I don't really pay attention to it. Obviously, I've been on both sides of it as far as how I've felt that calls were made. But at the end of the day, those guys are doing their best to make the best calls." And then he did something unusual for a player of his stature. He admitted fault. Mahomes mentioned one play from the game he wasn't proud of. His flop. I would say the only one I felt like I probably did too much was the one on the sideline where I didn't get the flag. He continued. The ref saw it and didn't throw a flag. I understood it immediately and know that I probably shouldn't have done that. A three-time Super Bowl champion admitting on the record that he tried to sell a call and knew he shouldn't have. In a league where players rarely acknowledge even the most obvious flops, Mahomes went on the record. Chiefs fans reacted quickly online, with many expressing anger and worry that Mahomes' words would fuel narratives about favorable officiating. Social posts ranged from calls for Mahomes to be more cautious with comments, to fears the team's achievements would be diminished by controversy. The discussion exploded. Some NFL fans accused Mahomes of trying to influence officials or flop for a call, quoting a brief clip that circulated widely. That clip sparked trending threads on X and highlight reels on Instagram, where clips looped and context was lost. Mahomes had pulled back the curtain on something the NFL would rather keep hidden: the gray area between gamesmanship and manipulation, the unspoken rules about how quarterbacks are protected, and the growing toxicity between gambling-fueled fandom and the athletes who perform under its microscope. While the football world debated Mahomes' words, the man himself was in a race against time. The recovery time for such an injury is about 9 months, though it could vary by several months depending on various factors. Next season was expected to kick off September 10, 2026, and the Chiefs could play their first game a few days later. Mahomes set his target immediately. I want to be ready for week 1. The doctor said I could, but I can't predict what happens throughout the process. That's the goal, to play week 1 and have no restrictions. The rehab process itself became a window into how Mahomes views the NFL and his place in it. What I've found out through this process is not every day is going to feel amazing. You have to have somebody you trust that's going to get the best out of you, but that's going to keep you safe. Mahomes had been doing most of his rehab in Kansas City with Chiefs physical therapist Julie Freimer, who helped him recover from other, less significant injuries in the past. He also traveled to Dallas for checks with Dr. Cooper and his staff. In March 2026, Mahomes posted a video of himself throwing. That video lit up the internet. Mahomes had raised speculation of his return when he shared a video of him throwing, a major step forward in his rehab. Mahomes was throwing again following an ACL injury in December 2025. NFL insiders took notice. Fox Sports NFL insider Jay Glazer appeared as a guest on the Dan Patrick Show to weigh in on Mahomes' recovery, saying, "His pain threshold is different. His work ethic is different. So at first they were like, oh, start of the season. I would probably hedge on him being back on the field sooner than that, by far, because he just attacks things." Glazer also noted that doctors were able to perform the procedure before significant swelling set in, which may have accelerated Mahomes' recovery timeline. He got the surgery before it swelled up. That was on a Tuesday. I believe it was either Thursday or Friday that week. He was already in the Chiefs training room doing rehab. But then the messaging got complicated. The Chiefs may have been pumping the brakes a bit on plans for Mahomes to return. Both the team and Mahomes himself had shared optimism that he would recover in time to take the field for the season opener. But owner Clark Hunt seemed to cool the speculation. In an interview with Front Office Sports, Hunt cast doubt on whether Mahomes would be ready to play, saying he believed the team would not be a candidate to face the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks in the league's opening game. "I don't think that's on the table anymore for us to be in Seattle for the opener," Hunt said. That statement created a firestorm. Hunt's comments were seen by many as an attempt to dissuade the NFL from scheduling the Chiefs in the season opener, ensuring Mahomes would be on the field for one of the more challenging games on the schedule. This led to backlash, with some suggesting he was asking for preferential treatment both for the team and Mahomes. The Chiefs had long faced criticism over what some see as favoritism from the NFL, especially when it came to the treatment of Mahomes. And now the franchise's own owner was seemingly playing both sides, publicly expressing optimism about Mahomes' recovery while privately trying to manipulate the league's schedule to Kansas City's advantage. Meanwhile, Mahomes kept pushing, "Knowing me, I'm going to push it to the exact limit every single day." Mahomes said of his rehabilitation effort, "There's places you can't go yet. You want to, but you can't go yet. And they're doing it for a reason." The first phase of the offseason program would focus on strength and conditioning, along with some rehab work, and Mahomes elected to join his teammates as he continued to eye a Week 1 return for the 2026 NFL season. Andy Reid provided an update at the podium. So he goes to the meetings, he can lift, do all that. Rehab, that's the phase he's in right now. We'll just see. Kind of play it by ear. See where he's at. He's doing great, but we've just got to be smart with this thing. The subtext was unmistakable. The Chiefs needed Mahomes back, but they also needed him healthy for the long haul. One wrong step, one rushed timeline, and the entire franchise could spiral even further. While Mahomes rehabbed, Brett Veach went to work rebuilding the roster. And the moves were seismic. The Chiefs addressed several of their biggest needs in free agency, signing former Seattle Seahawks running back and Super Bowl LX MVP Kenneth Walker III, and ex-Baltimore Ravens safety Alohi Gilman, while also re-signing tight end Travis Kelce. The Chiefs traded for Jets quarterback Justin Fields, with New York reportedly receiving a 6th-round pick in the 2027 draft. While the Chiefs got a 7th-round pick from the Jets, as part of the deal, the Chiefs took on $3 million of Fields' $10 million guaranteed salary for the season. This was an insurance policy, pure and simple. It wasn't the end of the world if Mahomes had to miss a few games at the start of the 2026 season. The Chiefs acquired Fields, and he should be able to keep things afloat if Mahomes needs some extra recovery time. The 2026 draft was now a pivotal moment. 9 was the magic number for general manager Brett Veach. It was both the number of selections available to him and also the starting point at number 9 overall in the first round. Kansas City had 2 firsts and more firepower than normal, with the bounty from the Trent McDuffie trade kicking in. The Chiefs faced a pivotal reset in 2026, with real roster changes needed around Patrick Mahomes to reassert AFC dominance. The lesson of 2025 was clear. The Chiefs could no longer rely on Mahomes alone to mask deficiencies. Adding a true running back and more reliable offensive weapons was no longer optional. It was essential to restoring Kansas City as an AFC power. And Mahomes, watching all of this from the rehabilitation room, understood something that few franchise quarterbacks ever have to confront. Even after a lost season, there was no debate about his standing as the best quarterback in football, or about his trajectory toward becoming a first-ballot Hall of Famer. Kansas City's priority was no longer proving Mahomes could elevate flawed rosters. He had already done that, but ensuring the roster around him reduced the burden that 2025 had placed on him. His comments throughout the recovery process painted a vivid picture. When asked about what he wanted from the coaching staff moving forward, Mahomes was direct. "I just want someone who loves football, cares about football, wants to give everything they can to win, and brings new ideas every single day." That phrase, "new ideas every single day," was telling. It signaled that Mahomes recognized the playbook had grown stale. The schemes that won 3 Super Bowls had been figured out by the rest of the NFL. In 2025, despite the overall team struggles, when he did play, the former Texas Tech star continued to prove he was still one of the best, completing 502 passes for 3,587 yards, 22 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, adding another 422 yards and 5 scores on the ground. The numbers were still elite, but the wins weren't there, and Mahomes knew why. The roster around him had degraded year after year as the Chiefs kept kicking salary cap problems down the road. Now the bill had come due, and it landed right in the middle of his recovery. Chiefs owner Clark Hunt confirmed that both Mahomes and the team were remaining optimistic, that he would be ready to start the 2026 season in September, citing his work ethic as a huge advantage. So what did Patrick Mahomes actually say about the NFL that should leave you speechless? He said, without ever using these exact words, that the system is broken. He said that gambling has poisoned the fan-player relationship, turning athletes into assets in someone's parlay instead of human beings playing a game. He said the officiating narrative will follow any successful team, and admitted that even he, the golden boy of the NFL, has played the gray areas of the rule book in ways he regretted. He said that watching his team get gutted for salary cap relief while he recovered from a devastating injury opened his eyes to how quickly the league moves on. And perhaps most profoundly, he communicated through a single word, damn, that even the most powerful player in football can be powerless when the business side takes over. The NFL is a machine that consumes everything. It consumed the Chiefs' dynasty in a matter of months. A 6-11 record, a torn ACL, a traded all-pro cornerback, a gutted roster, and a salary cap nightmare. how quickly things change in the NFL. But here's the part that should genuinely leave you speechless. Through all of it, through the injury, the losing, the roster upheaval, the criticism, the gambling debate, the officiating controversy, Mahomes never wavered on one thing. Knowing me, I'm going to push it to the exact limit every single day. He restructured his contract to give the team financial flexibility. The Chiefs converted $54.45 million of his 2026 salary into a signing bonus, creating $43.56 million in cap room. He showed up to the voluntary offseason program while still rehabbing a torn ACL and LCL. Mahomes elected to join his teammates as he continued to eye a Week 1 return for the 2026 NFL season. He didn't ask for a trade. He didn't throw the front office under the bus. He didn't publicly complain about the roster moves. He posted "damn" and went back to work. In a league filled with players demanding trades at the first sign of trouble, Mahomes chose loyalty. In a league that rewards short memories and self-interest, he chose to sacrifice his own money to help the team rebuild. In a league that treats players as disposable commodities, he chose to be present with his teammates even when he couldn't step on the field. And when he spoke about the NFL, about gambling, about officiating, about the rehab grind, about what he needs from the people around him, he was honest in a way that most superstars never are. He admitted flaws. He acknowledged the system's imperfections. He didn't pretend that everything was fine. That honesty, coming from the most important player in football, while sitting in a rehab facility recovering from a torn ACL, watching his dynasty crumble around him. That's what should leave you speechless. Not because he said anything inflammatory. Not because he dropped some bombshell confession. But because he said what every NFL player thinks but is too afraid to say out loud, that the NFL is a business first and a sport second. And sometimes the business part really hurts. The 2026 season begins in September. The opening game is expected September 10th, 2026, and the Chiefs could play their first game a few days later. Mahomes plans to be there. No restrictions, no limitations. The question isn't whether he'll be physically ready. The question is whether the Kansas City Chiefs will have given him enough to work with, because the greatest quarterback of this generation has spoken. He's told us what's wrong with the league. He's told us what he needs. He's told us he's coming back. The only question left is whether anyone was listening.